Gordon Ryan, you're new to the sport, new to UFC, new to jiu-jitsu, all that stuff. You're wondering, who the hell is this kid? Maybe you haven't even heard of him. I highly suggest you look this kid up. He is the most entertaining person, maybe in mixed martial arts in general right now. He just talks his crap. He's the best at trolling. And most importantly, he backs all his shit up. Like, there's nothing, you'll never have more eyes on you than when you talk a shitload of stuff and you don't ever lose. That's something that everybody, that's why this kid has so many haters, because, you know, it's one thing, say like Israel, you know, the guy was 20-0, very conceited, you know, cocky at times, but also humble too. Gordon, he don't give a shit, yo. Gordon will flip you off, slap you across your face, and say something about your mother and keep it moving. This kid is ruthless. And I think it has a lot to do with where he comes from and who is his surroundings. So let's start with that. Kid was born, I'm going this just right off the top of my head. I didn't do like an essay on this. I just watched this shit a lot. Okay, Gordon Ryan, born in Monroe, New Jersey. If you guys aren't from New Jersey, there's parts of New Jersey that are rough, real rough. Newark, Camden, Trenton, Patterson, Atlantic City. Then you got areas that are much nicer, like, you know, Monroe, Rumson, Red Bank, etc. So he was more so in the nicer part. Really has nothing to do with nothing. Just trying to explain you guys, you know, set the scene a little bit. So from when he was young, like, this kid is still young. I'm sorry, I don't know his exact age. I think it's very early 20s, like 23, maybe 22. You know, from an early age, this kid was training at New Brunswick Jiu-Jitsu with Gary Tonin as his head coach, which they became really good friends. At the time, Gary Tonin was one of the best grapplers around. He went to my high school, know him. He's a great guy, fights in one championship right now. He kind of took Gordon under his wing. So now these guys started to train together. He saw the potential in him. He started also training at Tom DeBlass's in Forked River, New Jersey. A guy who also fought in the UFC, a very decorated mixed martial artist. More so Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's very decorated in, you know, but he also fought in MMA. So now he's getting trained under two extremely good guys. You got Gary Tonin, Tom DeBlass. Now this kid's going to New York to train with Renzo Gracie, maybe my favorite fighter of all time. Like, I don't judge by the wins, how long they're I judge about this type of shit. How badass was that guy? And Renzo was a fucking badass. That guy will get his wrist snapped in the ring before he taps. That guy is no joke. That family is no joke, and he is my favorite out of the Gracies. So this guy is now getting taught from Renzo Gracie, Tom DeBlass, Gary Tonin. He's training with George St. Pierre. He's rolling with him. This guy has had phenomenal training since he was young. So next thing you know, he's going to competitions. He's tapping everybody out. He's killing them. So he moves up to black belt. He gets his black belt with only like a couple of years, which, like, people were complaining about that. Like, John Danaher was also, how could I forget, his main coach at Renzo's, which that guy, if you don't know about him, that guy is just a legend. Like, you're talking the pioneers of the jiu-jitsu game in New York City. Like, I'll go on with him in a whole nother YouTube video. Let's get back to Gordon. So he's getting trained by the best guys. So he's tapping everybody out and gets his black belt quick, and he's beating everybody at black belt now. So there's really no excuses. Like, that this kid is talking shit, beating people left and right, you know. So now, a few years later with his black belt, and he's still just as dominant as ever. He had two losses to the same guy, Felipe Penne, who, that guy, I don't even know who he is. I mean, he hasn't won anything in years. That must have been his time in, I don't know, 2017 or something. Like, those days are done. That guy's in one shit. So the only guy to beat him doesn't even compete no more. So anybody who competes now has not even, you know, touched the fucking shit stain of Gordon Ryan and the things that he's accomplished. Like, it's hard to even, if I had it in front of me, to list all the things that he won, because he's just fucking fucking phenomenal. So he's very exciting to watch. If you don't know about him, I suggest you look him up. He just bitch slapped Ariel Adesanyo's coach. Like the kid gets done with a grappling match versus somebody like this young and upcoming star. Gordon's just fucking calm as hell. He's like, hey, I'm gonna fucking tap this kid out with an arm bar. Everybody's like, oh, you know, he says it right before the match. Goes into the match, has plenty of ways that he can tap this kid, perfect attempts, and he fucking doesn't even do it. He waits for the arm bar attempt and fucking rips the kid's arm off and taps him out that way. That's why I love this kid. And I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I'm a fucking expert at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because I'm not. I box my whole life. I love that sport. And I had no intent of ever even getting interested into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I wasn't that interested in rolling around with guys. I feel like it's a little too boring. I more like to see fists. But this kid Gordon has made this so exciting that I had no other choice but to get involved. And he's got my attention. I think a lot of other people who don't follow the sport. And my greedy self wants him to get right into the UFC or mixed martial arts like Gary Tonin got right into one championship, because I want to see these guys, what they can do with fighters, guys that know how to kickbox. I want to see them use their jiu-jitsu versus them the same way the Gracies did in the beginning and came in as a guy who was specifically just a grappler and still beat. And in UFC 1, you know, jiu-jitsu showed that it can beat every other, you know, type of mixed martial art. Can it still? I think I think Gordon Ryan is going to be the one to show that it can still. I think he may be the only one to show. I mean, we had like Ryan Hall, the master at the 50-50, which is a fucking sweet position and shit. You know, it was cool. I watched him on The Ultimate Fighter, but he's not an exciting guy. He's fucking very humble and soft-spoken. He looks like a math teacher. Like, dude, we want to see fucking guys that are talking shit. You know, like, who are the guys that rose to the biggest? Conor McGregor. What did he do? Talk shit. You know, Muhammad Ali. Talk shit. Tyson. Talk shit. You could just go on and on. The top tier guys all talk shit. That's why I feel like Frankie Edgar, coming from New Jersey and one of my favorite fighters, have the utmost respect for him, have personal friends that are friends with him. I feel like if he talked more shit in his career, he would have been as big as Conor was. He was big, you know, but it's just, you gotta fucking have that talking shit, that badass, you know, act with you. This is entertainment. This shit is not, a lot of these guys get confused of like, oh, this is about respect and dignity and blah, blah, blah. Dude, I don't know where you guys got that shit from, but the Gracies and all these other fucking gyms, like back in the day, were fucking nuts. They were doing dojo fucking storms where they go into other gyms and fucking confront guys that would be like, hey, I think I could fucking whoop your ass. Let's go, bitch. And they go and fucking fight. These guys would go on the beaches of fucking Rio de Janeiro and have like 100 on 100 brawls that you could watch on YouTube right now of it. Like, it's fucking insane. Like, these guys, what they care about is who's the most strongest guy, who's the alpha male, who's got the best, you know, type of jiu-jitsu, who's got the best coaches. These guys are about their pride, their honor, their ego, what real men are all about, and why we love this sport, because we're fucking all about who's the biggest badass, who's the baddest guy on the earth. Right now, I mean, shit, you would most likely go with the heavyweight of the UFC, you know, the champion, Stipe, which, I mean, I would say he's probably the baddest guy in the world. But we're all trying to find who is the biggest badass. And I feel like this kid, Gordon Ryan, at such a young age, has huge potential to get into the UFC in a few years and just take it by storm. I mean, he's already on the Fight Pass, just the best jiu-jitsu guy. He's #1 ranked, pound for pound, the best right now. You know, he gets done with that match where he armbarred that kid. Sorry, I don't know his name. It's like I said, I'm not really that much into jiu-jitsu. I'm just into it because of Gordon. So he taps his kid with the armbar, and then Israel Adesanyo's coach, was walking in the back and was talking shit. If you watch, I did a full thing in my last one explaining it all. But Israel Adesanyo's coach, Andre Galfov, he was claiming that Gordon Ryan was running from him and that he wants no part of him, when Gordon would murder this guy, you know. So Gordon ends up just bitch slapping the shit out of him twice, then goes on with his interview like nothing happened, and then goes on to say like he loves this shit, like he lives for this shit. Like, yeah, he's fucking, you could see he's like pissed and there's real anger behind him. This shit is not an act, which I hate when shit's like an act. Like, I hate this whole fucking Bigsby and Rockhold bullshit where they're fucking playing touch butt in the fucking you know, the fucking gym, the RCNA, whatever that fucking surfer gym bullshit is, and they're fucking, and Luke Rockhold throwing his little front kicks and Michael Bigsby's going behind him, and you know, I don't want to fucking see that shit, yo. I want the Daniel Cormier fucking John Jones beef. I want that shit to the fucking grave, yo. I want you guys to hate each other forever. I bought Michael Bigsby's book because I was so intrigued by his beef with Luke Rockhold, and it just blew my mind that in like fucking 13 days he walked off a movie set and beat the shit, knocked out a guy that he absolutely fucking hated more than ever. And I would have had no problem if these guys hated each other till their last dying breath, because that's what fucking sports are. That's why we watch this shit. We live for the rivalries. And now these guys are fucking buddy now. I don't know. That's a whole nother story. But to tie this all together, I think Gordon Ryan is the type of guy who's going to come in to the fucking UFC and talk shit to everybody, not take no sorries. No, it ain't going to be no act. He's going to fucking be bitch slapping people backstage like Jorge and shit, because he's just that type of guy. It's how he was bred. He's from New Jersey. He's a fucking badass. He's been doing this shit. You guys got to give credit to guys who dedicate their lives to this shit. Like, if you look at his comments, it's nothing but guys talking shit to him. Like, how are you going to talk shit to a kid who dedicated his life to fucking, he trains like 6 hours, 7, who knows, that many hours a day to fucking learning how to rip people's arms and legs off. That's sick. That's so badass. I have the utmost respect for him, you know. He answers all of his fans. He even talks shit back to these guys who've accomplished not dick in life. These guys will sit there and say, oh, Gordon Ryan, juice head, because he's having a stomach problem right now. They're saying, oh, he must be off cycle, blah, blah, blah. Yo, regardless or not, if this kid took steroids, that is irrelevant. He's the best number one pound for pound in the world. If you or any of us was told, if you inject this shit into your ass, and not saying that he did or did not, but if we were told that if we were to take a steroid and become the fucking best in the world, buying fucking $1 million homes, fucking just at his level, we would do it in a second. We would fucking do it for half as what he's got right now. This kid was fucking a garbage man, you know, not for long, but when he first got out of high school, that's what he did, you know. And now this kid's fucking buying homes in Puerto Rico, fucking